Now, the National Senator, Bridget McKenzie, Bridget had a very good idea last week. Break up Qantas and Jetstar, she said, just bust them up. Genius. Why had nobody else thought of that? Well, we've mentioned it here before. But good ideas are frowned upon down in the nation's capital, and it soon got short shrift. Got bagged by her own party, by Matty Canavan and Barnaby Joyce, eventually got smashed in the chamber by the Minister for Qantas, Catherine King. Everybody just turned up their noses at it. It had been rubbished by every side, and I think by every party. But what was the matter with this idea? The aviation market is dominated by two airlines, Qantas, Jetstar, which is the one airline, and Virgin. Why not turn it into three? It's a good idea already. They are separate companies. Jetstar, separate HQ. Qantas, separate HQ to Jetstar. They are different airlines with their own slots. It can just be chopped down the middle. In fact, it might even be good for Qantas' share price, the old demerger premium that they get. So Bridget had a good idea, but of course everybody, because it was a good idea and it hadn't been run past Qantas and the Minister for Qantas, Catherine King, it was just rejected out of hand, which brings us, well, it might have actually incidentally had something to do with the manner of delivery, because Bridget actually delivered her good idea in a Qantas pilot's garb. It seems to be something among Tory women, this sort of pilot's gear thing. And of course, the men like Canavan and Barnaby and so on don't mind a bit of cosplay themselves. Might have undermined the idea from the start. But in any case, it's a sound idea. Bust them up. Three players are better than two. So it was with ANZ Suncorp. They should have left it at the big four and not allowed ANZ to swallow Suncorp. Anyway, good idea before her party tanked it and everybody else. But we're in Coles and Woolies territory now, and there are essentially two schools of thought here. One is that there is competition and you should just leave them alone. Yes, they can be a bit naughty around the pricing and a bit predatory, but that's good for shareholders because we've all got superannuation. And higher dividends and stock prices are fantastic for all Australians. That's the kind of conservative tilt on it. And the other one is bust them up. Food is an essential thing. Groceries are essential. They are too high. They've now been caught this very week by the ACCC in a fraud, claiming they've got discounts when they're really just jacking prices up and discounting them a bit. I mean, it's something that I busted Chemist Warehouse. Used to be called Discount Chemist Warehouse. Hypochondriac's heaven, I call it, but they are now Superstore and they're jacking their prices up. They are not cheap anymore and they do exactly the same thing. There are two schools of thought, although really both can be true. Yes, they are in competition, Woolies and Coles, and yes, Aldi is the third player, and yes, you've got the independents, which are fairly high priced because of the wholesaling. They can't compete in the market, but essentially there is competition. The problem with this is, of course, by international standards, as Nick McKim pointed out, the Greens senator, when he was hammering the chiefs of Woolies and Coles in the Senate Groceries Inquiry a few months ago, when he threatened Brad Banducci with contempt. The issue is that by global standards, yes, the profit margins, you can measure them in different ways, and that was what the McKim-Banducci stoush was about, but they are big, fat and thick profit margins. Australian supermarkets make as much money as any in the world. There is a problem. They are extremely profitable. Now, there's nothing wrong with something being profitable, but it's only going in one direction with 60-odd% market share. Because they have an advantage, being in every town in Australia and being extremely well-heeled, solid balance sheets, they can control the rollout of supermarkets across Australia. So they're not going to go and invest overseas if they know they can get higher margins in Australia. And this is the problem. They're not going to go overseas because they're not going to be able to get anywhere near the profits out of another country, which means that, yes, we are being robbed. Not illegally robbed, just touched up, just overcharged every time we go down to the supermarket. These fake discounts should be cracked down on. So yes, it is a good thing the government and the ACCC is cracking down on Woolies and Coles, even if their good for shareholders and so on, and they are competing. This is a good thing. It's the job of the ACCC to do it. Well, we got you on this in grog. We saw the Nats, David Littleproud and co, going, they should be beer excise. They've got to stop that. We're paying too much for our beer, taxing our beer and wine too much. I agree. The issue, of course, is, again, more fundamental things, and we'll try to explain this to David Barnaby, but if you look at the market for grog as well, controlled by Woolies and Coles and Associates, same deal. Zach Schumer, our reporter, has done 3 investigations into it, Dan Murphy's and Liquorland and all these guys, and they dominate the market. Beer and wine. It's a duopoly there, or close enough to, and that too is only going one way. So forget about tinkering around with beer excise. The ACCC has to address this critical issue for all Australians. We live in a land of duopolies, monopolies, high prices, gigantic profit margins. Look at insurance. That's why foreign multinationals love Australia, because we're an easy touch. Please like, share, comment in the space below, and check out the linked articles because you'll get some detail.